Every indoor cycling bike has issues. Every single one. Some brands have more issues than others. Typically, when a brand comes out with a brand new model, it has bugs and they need to be worked out. Typically, factories assemble bikes and they do not pay attention to detail on very important things because they don't know any better. And sometimes they do know better, but they're cutting corners because they're in Taiwan, China, or some other country. So here's an example on an indoor cycling bike. Spinning does this, Stages does this, Schwinn does this, Startrac does this. At the factory, they cut corners and they, for instance, in this area, they don't properly lubricate during assembly. So here we got a bike, about 5 to 6 months in use. This is not a high volume indoor cycling studio. This is 2 to 3 classes a day, sometimes 2. So here's the sign. So you got rust. You got rust. And why is that rusting? Because the rider sweats. Rider is on the bike and the sweat drops down here. See here, see those rusted bolts? This is so typical with during assembly where they cut corners. And this is an important area because these bolts, they need rust. Excuse me, these bolts and these bosses, they need grease. Any bicycle mechanic is going to either in high areas that require, almost every area on a bike needs grease when the hardware is assembled, or Loctite. Like on a crank on an indoor cycling bike, you're not going to use grease, you're going to use Loctite. But in this particular area, this is what you call gross negligence. So one reason why I'm doing this is because sometimes when your bike mechanic is working on the bikes, when you got 30, 40, 50 bikes, when you have to deal with issues that take, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes to address, you times that by, 30 to 50 bikes, and then you got to times that by, the number of times that they're servicing. So here's what typically happens is a competent indoor cycling bike mechanic is very competent at saving time. However, because the bikes from all of the major brands, they cut corners, the mechanic at the end of the day has to deal with extra work because of improper assembly at the factory.